Okay, so nice to meet you all. So I'm going to start by laying my cards on the table as sort of unambiguously as I can. I think free speech is always and everywhere the only thing that stands between ordinary people and tyranny. It's a struggle that never ends as well, because there will always be individual human beings for whom life is never primarily about family, community, or even coexistence, but is entirely and obsessively about forcing their will onto others. And in my lifetime, I've seen the numbers and influence of these people increase exponentially in publishing in the media. Now, in my professional life, as an author myself and a lead writer for dozens of businesses and NGOs, I've had to spend hours, countless hours, reading all sorts of research. Everything from work by Milton scholars, and trust me, there is no scholar like a Milton scholar, and the kind of fraudulent research that the Institute for Fiscal Studies have so recently been pilloried for producing on VAT in private schools. Now, that experience has convinced me that well over 75% of everything that comes under that title research is merely politicised lobbying. That's all it is. So over many years, instead of trusting the research, I've actually become a great fan of the anecdote. I don't buy into the data delusion because I've worked in technology sales for too long, and I know exactly how Silicon Valley sales reps work with naive politicians. So for me, anecdotes are special because they deliver an extraordinarily precise, real-world, uncomplicated insight. So I'm going to share 3 little free speech insights with you. I visited the collapsing Soviet Union twice. The first time, I met a professor of English from Moscow University who came to the UK shortly after. She had never left the Soviet Union in her life. She's a middle-aged woman. She spoke beautifully, impeccable English, like Sylvia Peters for those of you who are retirees. Okay, I met her at East Midlands Airport and took her to her university. We chatted in the car on the way. On the verge of tears, she said to me she had never in her entire life had a conversation like that, even with a friend in a car. On my second visit to the Soviet Union, our guide took us to St. Petersburg to ride the underground. By the way, the underground in St. Petersburg is something else. When I got onto the top of the long escalator, it was so crowded. And as it went down, I've never seen anything like it, and I travelled on the Waterloo and City line every day for 10 years. As it got to the bottom, I couldn't see anywhere to step off onto the platform. How on earth I survived that? Anybody survives that every day, I don't know. I said to our guide, look, it only takes one person to fall over on the escalator and hundreds of people are crushed. And she looked at me and she didn't blink an eyelid, and she said, yes, but we'd never hear about it. Now, I've published a number of essays about the weaponization of language in a variety of magazines, including a long essay on Milton's Areopagitica, and I've even done a BBC Radio 4 programme about it. I think so much of the discussion about free speech takes place way downstream from where it matters. Activists and progressives have been taught by sociolinguists in school and university that the English language is simply a bendy toy. Words are entirely flexible things, and therefore they are perfect weapons in political and cultural causes. Want to argue that men can change sex? Just coin the word transphobia. Want to hide your horrific anti-Semitism behind a screen of acceptability? Just coin the word Islamophobia. I've actually been cheered recently because I've seen a dramatic surge in other writers saying the same thing. The single phrase which has cast a spotlight on this is, of course, assisted dying. More and more people are calling it out for the deceitful, deliberately manipulative euphemism it really is. So what I want people to do is routinely and constantly challenge this deceitful wordplay. What the sociolinguists never, ever tell the children they can, when they make up any word they like or they put any sequence of words on a page and they tell them it's a lovely poem, darling, is they never tell them that people are free to reject their wordplay. Instead of letting the sociolinguists the BBC loves to field have it all their own way, we need teachers, above all, to assert that if the English language doesn't have integrity, it's worthless. And to reiterate my point that this struggle is timeless, I'm going to finish with a quotation from Milton. perhaps the most intelligent author and writer to have ever dedicated time to this vital issue of free speech. Milton said, "When language in common use in any country becomes irregular and depraved, it is followed by their ruin and degradation. For what do terms used without skill or meaning, which are at once corrupt and misapplied, denote, but a people listless, supine, and ripe for servitude?" Being no doubt we're living through such times. And just one more Soviet anecdote. One of the students I met in Moscow was wearing the most beautiful, bright orange, vivid mittens, furry mittens. And it was minus 25 degrees, the kind of temperature which literally took your breath away if you were a German or French soldier outside Moscow. So I asked her, what was the fur? Holding up both hands with a lovely, proud smile, she said, "That was my cat."
Thanks very much.